Welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo, where tattoo artists, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to come, share, inspire each other, learn about art, and ultimately get better tattoos. This is Tattoo Machine Madness, official episode number 2 with Tony Urbanik, and we are talking with Greg from Veritas Irons. It's going to be awesome. If you are interested in tattoo machines, then this is going to be awesome to tune into. Feel free to ask your questions in the chat room. Not sure where you're beaming in from. We have this going out on like YouTube and Facebooks and I think even LinkedIn sometimes. But the best place to always catch all of the live programming and the replays will be at the Reinventing the Tattoo app. In either of the app stores, pick your poison, either Google Play or the Apple App Store. You can do a search for Reinventing the Tattoo and download it, or head straight to your browser, can go straight to community.reinventingthetattoo.com. And again, we have all sorts of replays, including lots of machine talks with Tony. And Tony also has an awesome build your own tattoo machine workshop that you can check out. It's reinventingthetattoo.com/build a tattoo machine or build your tattoo machine. If you go to courses.reinventingthetattoo.com, you'll see it right there. And it's a set of 8 webinars that you will get the ingredients and you watch, you build it yourselves with hand tools, files and whatnot. It's amazing. Okay. But either way, no matter what you're watching, whatever channel you're watching on, please tune in to the app. You could also go to the Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, which is pretty new. So please give it a follow and share it with all your YouTube friends. And then we also are now up in the podcast stores. Shopify has us up right now. Apple's a little lagging behind, but if you're watching a replay, I'm sure it's up there. So podcast stores, Reinventing the Tattoo podcast. And again, that's brand new. So please share that with all your podcast loving friends. We have so many events that are in this schedule, it's hard to keep up. We recently had an archaeologist. Yesterday we had a chemist. In the future, we have the philosophy of tattoos. There's reinventing drawing groups that happen every Sunday at 1 and every Monday at 9. Tattoo collecting podcast happens every Thursdays at 11. And on Mondays at noon, we have Let's Talk Tattoo with Mark Lascarbo from Needle Jig. He just did an awesome interview with Mike Chambers. You should definitely check it out. We've got 9 o'clock every Monday night. We have subscriber exercises. So if you are Reinventing the Tattoo subscriber, that means you have access to the full canon, which is the massive course that's constantly updating. It's the book that's no longer in print. Again, guys, updating it, constantly, and it's been getting a full refresh too as we go to new technology. Anyways, if you go to courses.reinventingthetattoo.com, then you can check out the professional development section. It is well worth it. So any events that I may have missed, I apologize, but check out the event section on this community. You'll see there's tons of upcoming things to do. There's also plenty of replays. And I do want to thank our sponsors for helping make this free. So inkjetstencils.com, they have this amazing setup where you do all of your reference on your either iPad as you normally would or your computer, and then you can print it out from your printer. It's an EcoTank Epson. You put in the inks and it prints it out. It saves time, saves money, and it's actually pretty neat. A lot of people that try it out use it. They're starting to hit up the conventions again. They do the free samples there. You can get free samples through us if you contact us, but definitely check it out, inkjetstencils.com. Loose Screw Tattoo, awesome tattoo shop, Richmond, Virginia. Jesse Smith is an amazing tattooer, artist, entrepreneur, and shop owner. He's got, check this, it's like full on like health, dental, paid vacation, I think 401k options and shit. It's a wicked busy shop, so make sure that you're awesome at black and gray and color, and you want to take people that come in, give them an awesome tattoo that's above and beyond. You have a whole amazing crew to learn from. And yeah, check it out. Jesse did a full webinar too recently, and in the app. But also, you can just check out any of his videos, any of his interviews, to get an idea of what is working for him. Jesse Smith tattoos on the YouTubes will get you all the interviews, and then loosescrewtattoo.com/ just go to loosescrewtattoo.com. You'll see join the team up in the upper corner there in the navigation, and let them know that you found out about him on Reinventing. And then rawpigments.co, pigment company out of, or an ink company out of California, and they are tapped right into the places where everyone's really getting the pigments. I believe they're acrylic-free, vegan. You could check out a recent call that Lauren, who works there, put together. It's a Reinventing the Tattoo business conference call. And yeah, do a search for that. Or if you go to the Reinventing channel, then you will catch all the replays. Okay, I want to get through this. This is amazing. Thank you very much, everyone, for the support and for all of the community members that are helping with the programming, and like Tony and all the other shows that are happening. It's really awesome to, again, to have to keep chatting up everyone who's helping us out. If you check out the Equinox video, you have the opportunity to get a goodie bag for tattooers, and it's not a trick to get you to watch a really awesome time with Android Jones. You can see it kind of playing here in the background, and Aja Lu did a live soundtrack to it. It just happens to be the only place where the form for this goodie bag is. So if you go to reinventingthetattoo.com/Equinox, sign up for your free ticket. When you get the watch page, you could enjoy the full hour and a half. We suggest playing it big and loud. But either way, you can check it out on your headphones and your iPhone too. But the point is, you'll see the watch page. There's actually the full art jam, which has a guy interviewing a whole mess of amazing artists about visionary artwork and tattoos, mostly tattooers, but also some straight up visionary painters. And then if you just keep scrolling down, then you will see the goodie bag page. If you have the app, then you can go to the library videos, and the Equinox link is right there. Boom. Okay, so that's how to get the goodie bags. It's got some cartridges from Cheyenne tattoo equipment, as well as some raw pigments and other goodies that we end up getting in there before we send them all out. If you've already filled out the form, be patient. We're putting them all together. Okay, affiliates, Fireside Tattoo Network. Check out their podcast and their YouTube channel. They're awesome. Jake's been doing shows here, and they're an awesome affiliate. The Apprenticeship Diaries, where Amy Nichols talks to all sorts of apprentices and mentors, primarily in tattoos, but also all sorts of apprentice-mentor relationships, and it's pretty awesome. I am going to get out of the way here. Please let us know how it's playing for you, where you're tuning in from. Again, share this out to your friends and family that might find it valuable. And thank you to Tony for hosting these, and Greg for beaming in. I think all the tech is working. And if you have questions or comments, leave them in the chat rooms, and I will try not to interrupt, but make sure that everybody gets talked about. Okay, take it away, Tony. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, Machine Thumbs. How y'all doing today? Thanks, Gabe, for the amazing intro. I am back today for Machine Mayhem, where I will be interviewing different machine builders and artists that are masters of their craft. Today's my first one-on-one interview, and I picked a very good friend of mine. We go back pretty far. We were just talking. We both lost track of the date, somewhere around 2005-ish, back in the Ink Nation days.
It's got to be before that.
Yeah, before that.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
You know.
We'll figure. Yeah, we'll guess. We'll say.
We can say 2000.
2000 something. How about that? Anyhow, Greg's from Mr. Blue Sky. Tattoo in Egg Harbor, New Jersey. He owns a company called Veritas Manufacturing. It used to be Veritas Machines, but it changed over about 7 years ago.
Yeah, about that. When I started actually making everything, like, you know, making everything myself, you know.
Right, and that's right outside Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Yes.
Me and Greg met several years back online when we were both pretty new to machine building, at least I was, and we kind of gravitated toward each other. And he has a different style, so I picked him as a nice contrast to talk about different angles, talk about life, talk about being a father, being a machine builder, running a business, being an artist, his journeys, his philosophies. And yeah, with that, Greg, you want to tell us like about your humble beginnings with machines and your influences and whatnot? Let's get us going.
Well, I was I'm from Atlantic City, New Jersey. I grew up on Georgia Avenue, in a section of the city called Ducktown. When I was maybe 19, 20 years old, there was a tattoo shop that opened up in the neighborhood. It was Philadelphia Eddie's Tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
and I started hanging out there, getting tattooed, and then I was a bellhop at Howard Johnson, and like like whatever, like I and
Yeah, we're gonna
I
start
remember
somewhere.
going into the shop one day, and the lady there was like, when do you want to start apprenticing to tattoo? And to me, I was like, I never even thought about tattooing as a thing that I could do, and then that was it. And then one of the first lessons about tattoo machines was, here, take this Spalding and Rogers machine apart, or take this this, what was it, a swing gate, like a National swing gate or something, apart, and
Right.
and you got to put it back together correctly, or you're not going to be able to tattoo correctly.
So how old were you about then?
I was about I think I was about 22, 23.
Okay, and
Somewhere in that area.
you're how old now?
44.
Yeah, to give just for reference. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So was it Eddie that handed you your first national kit?
No. It was a guy named Petey.
Petey.
And he was Buffy Herman's boyfriend at the time. Just to fast forward just slightly, that apprenticeship didn't end well. As many apprenticeships in that shop did not end well.
Right.
But it was like the first thing that really sparked my interest in making tattoo machines. You're making something that makes something, and
Right.
if you don't make them correctly, then you're not going to tattoo correctly. So in my mind, I was completely fascinated with them, completely obsessed with them from day one, from Jump Street, and that's why.
Did you have any background in any sort of mechanics, like coming from a bellhop? You just went straight into tattooing?
Nah, I mean, like I was, pretty much 100% skateboarder back then. Like
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I rode for, I was on Flow for Pal skateboards and skating all the time since I was a little kid. I grew up in Atlantic City skating. So I had very little mechanical knowledge. I mean, as far back as I can remember, I was taking stuff apart and putting it back together. Like my first guitar, I completely ruined because
Right.
I took it apart and put it back together. And that's when I was like 10 years old. My dad was pretty handy. He was, he was a mechanic. He was a carpenter. You know what I mean? Like he's taking
Right.
stuff apart, putting it back together. We were on the job. We were building houses and stuff. So putting things together it wasn't second nature to me. It was like there was a huge learning curve for me, but it was something that I wasn't unable to do. Like I was, whatever it was, putting it together, taking it apart. I was always interested in how things worked.
Right.
Like How It's Made is like my favorite TV show of all time.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
every Sunday, that's like all I do is watch that.
So moving forward, when did you build your first machine, handcraft, from like just scratch, or like how did your process begin? Like how did you dive in, like the obsession? So I know, like, do you have like an obsessive personality? Like once you get involved in something, like with the skateboarding or with tattooing or with machines, you just dive in full head on and just run with it?
I think like what people would call obsession, I call focus. Like
Okay.
I'm extremely focused on the things that I wanted to accomplish.
Okay.
And so I kind of had an idea that I wanted to make tattoo machines every single way that I could. So in the beginning, I guess like, all credit due to, Workhorse Irons and Soba and, all those dudes. Like I bought a kit from, like a build it yourself kit from Workhorse Irons, and it was a Soba Pilot. And I put that thing together, and it was funny because I remember the ad saying like, like skills or mojo not included or something like that. And I thought, like kind of cocky to say that shit. And I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to show these dudes, like whatever, like it's just like, and then like I put the thing together and like I forgot to take the enamel off the wire.
Why?
I soldered it.
Yeah, it's the first.
So it was like the first lesson. Like, oh, you get,
Yeah.
Moment of truth. Like when you first put the clip cord in, and it's either running or it's not running.
It just goes click.
Yeah, the thing was not running. So it was
Yeah.
just like, what the fuck happened? And like, I don't know how I figured out that like you have to take the enamel off, but I figured it out somehow, desoldered it, put it back together, and that thing, it ran pretty cool. But that was like the very beginning. But the first, like I went through, I mean, it was kind of a slow thing too, because I didn't have any tools. I didn't have a place to work,
Right.
so I was just kind of just assembling stuff and whatever. But I remember there's a dude, he used to sell stuff under, he owned like a machine shop in Morristown, New Jersey, and his name was Eddie Zoll. And Eddie Zoll had something called UMW, United Machine Works, or something like that. And
Right.
as far as I can tell, he had machines made. I think like Mitch Perkins, who's another tattooer here in South Jersey. He might have made some shapes and stuff for Mitch Perkins. They were fully CNC. They were made out of ductile iron. They're very nice frames. And I'm not certain, but I think maybe Schweigert had some stuff done too, or Schweigert was building on those back then. I can't confirm that, but I've seen some stuff that he built, and it was like on those Eddie Zoll frames. But that guy used to sell them on eBay for like I don't know, maybe I forgot how much, like maybe $50 or something.
Yeah, I
like
remember back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. He had like a weird looking dial thing, like a dial. He had like a walker. He had some cool stuff. But at that time, I was like fully obsessed with like Aaron Kane and like Biomech and stuff. So
Right.
I'm like shredding these frames, like shredding them with a Dremel, like completely destroying frames. And I made a bunch of those and sold them, and they were good because they were frames that were pre-made and stuff like that. I'm using coil cores from well-known sources and stuff like that. Like, you're sourcing your stuff from people that you're just building machines, but the aspiration to build machines and sell them was like a big deal for me. You see like these dudes, Seth Safari, BJ Johnson, Aaron Kane, they like pulled all their resources and made, one of the biggest, tattoo machine companies in history, if not the biggest. And when you see that stuff, it's like, I'm not a hater. I take notes, so I'm trying to move forward doing that in my own little way. But I was very insecure about it too. Like, you're making machines, and if they don't work, then you're a terrible machine builder. Am I right? So it's, that was kind of the beginning, is just doing that. But as far as like making my own stuff, I think it was around 2006 or 7. I stumbled upon some little website called eMachine Shop, and they had, CAD software. It was very simple to use, very easy to use, and I made a bunch of parts. And in the software, there was a little price function where you could get a price and get stuff sent out, and they'll take your design when it's finished and correct, and they'll send you back parts, for whatever fee. So I had a bunch of shit lasered. I had no idea what I was doing. And then, a couple weeks later, all this stuff arrives, and I have no idea. That's not one of the first ones, but that's very close. That's when I was like, figuring out stuff, lasering stuff. And it was fun. And it was fun because it was like, I'm making stuff that's like my stuff, Yeah, look at like the slotted holes for like adjustment, because I didn't know shit.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out geometry and.
Yeah. I'm trying. I didn't have a jig. Those are MIG welded with like, like one of those welding magnets. Yeah, It's like insane. Like I had no idea what I was doing. And this is before we actually met making these things.
Right.
That's like one of the first incarnations of those machines.
What's a solid machine? I mean, for your first, I don't know, what would this be?
This is like probably those ones right there, because I think I made different ones that were like that, like the same shape but like updated. Those are probably the second run of things that I had lasered.
These are different.
And of course, like I had no way to like mill out, a coil deck. So making a tube vise to a coil deck, I thought it would be a good idea to have, this little standalone part that would act as the tube vise, and then just weld it on.
Right.
And it's the method that I use to this day. And I've never really seen too many people doing that. Maybe, I don't know. It's just something I'm so familiar at. Like, I could like make a solid piece and then mill it down. I have the capability to do it now, but it's how I've been doing it for all this time. So that's the way I still run it. But yeah, getting back to like the CAD thing, like, learning how to draw stuff on CAD, was a big deal to me. Like I didn't know anything about it, and that program made it kind of easy. I know there's like really really nice CAD programs and stuff that's like you could use, but the end result is the end result. If you're making a 2D part, then using this simple little program to design your parts worked out great. I mean, at least for me anyway. I don't know anybody else that used it, but it was I was just trying to do stuff that was like my shit, like you know what I mean, like like what's the
Doing
point
it
of
your
like,
way? Yeah,
like what's the point of being an artist and all this stuff? There's like, and don't get me wrong, you borrow along the way and all that stuff, but like you're constantly searching for your own identity in everything you do, if that's the way you are. I mean, I think that's the way I kind of always was. I always kind of felt like an outsider in everything. So feeling like an outsider in tattooing, and especially machine building, I was very, very insecure and very very kind of scared to like show people what I was doing. So I kind of fly under the radar. I kind of do the same thing now. Like I fly under the radar.
Yeah.
Like I don't really like to put myself out there too much, but
I was going to say, when you put yourself out there, you're subject to criticism. So it just depends on you, how you cope with that criticism moving forward.
Yeah, I think at first I was like real kind of bugged out about being criticized, but now like I embrace it. Like I really don't have a problem with somebody saying, oh, you should do this, or maybe you did this wrong or something like that. I think it all comes with maturity and like growing up. And I mean, like when you're some 4-year punk ass tattooer, like of course you're gonna be like, fuck you, guy. But now it's like I can see like like when you're speaking to somebody who has more experience than you, and they're speaking from their heart, and they're telling you something that you need to hear, the best possible thing you could do is open your ears and listen. So now it's different, and now it's like I fly under the radar because it's like like I don't know, like that's just how it is. Like I don't really care. Like
you do it for you.
I'm only concerned with what I'm doing. I mean, not that like I pay attention a little, but I don't. The main goal is to like. You guys there? Oh, would you? Oh,
yeah.
The main goal is to like make the machines. Selling them is like cool, but like I'm obsessed with like making them.
Yeah, I see that you have a bunch of different new styles I haven't seen in a long time on the page. Gabe just pulled up.
Oh yeah. It's funny. I have a ton of those sitting right next to me too. like I got the same machine.
What is the oldest thing you have with you?
Yeah, I have some with me. Yeah.
What's the oldest?
These are last year's. I haven't really updated that in a while.
Right.
And this past winter. Oh well, I mean, this whole year has been insane to say the least. I think everybody knows that. That doesn't need to be said. But
Sure.
One of the things for me was like I got stuck doing crazy walk-ins since like July, and it was like crazy busy in the shop, and I'm losing it trying to like do all these walk-ins and stuff. So in December I had enough, and I took like a whole month off and just built machines, and in that month I produced a lot of cool stuff. And I'm still like working on a lot of stuff. I don't get to, there isn't any real assembly and building and tuning right now. It's just making parts. I've just been making parts manually and stuff, and it brings great satisfaction to me to make the best possible stuff that I can make without having to use CNC and stuff, or laser, and everything's handmade now, or at least like as close. I'm just using what I have. I've always just used what I have.
That's what you have. Sure. And I've seen you grow through the years and update your tools and expand and learn more. And you've taught me a lot. I remember when you first started plating, and I called you up and I was like, hey, how do you do this?
Oh yeah, plating stuff.
I remember when you bought your mill.
Yeah.
Your big
mill.
I
had that. Yeah, plating stuff was crazy because like, I mean, in this day, all you have to do is just like, all you have to do is look on the internet. You find pretty much anything. And I didn't have like a plating kit. I just tried to figure out how. Like I bought like a Radio Shack power supply, and I'm like alligator clips that are just deteriorating in the fucking solution. A couple rods of nickel from the metal supply, and you make a cathode, and you in your anode, and you're like, breathing in cat piss like nickel stink, and I probably have cancer from that shit now. Like. but it was hilarious. I was like making this stuff, and like I remember, oh dude, I remember this, man. It was so fucking great. Like I remember plating this machine, and you're checking it out, and you're just going like this. You're like, what the fuck is this? It just looks like stainless steel. You start rubbing off the plating, and I'm like, oh, like, fuck. Look, it's just coming off. It's like, oh fuck, man. So that was a big deal for me, because it was like, like I was all proud of it, but then like, your heart sinks when like someone.
I'm sorry I ruined the moment for you.
It was great though, because it's like, yo, man, fucking get some acetone, clean off your surface, buff that surface clean, make sure it's nice, and then plate it. You got to make like I found out like you had to make like a copper strike plate first or something like that, and I think that was the thing. It was sticking, but it wasn't staying. So
yeah,
if you there's this stuff you can get. It's called root kill, I think, and man, this is years ago. Like you go to Home Depot and get these little crystals. They're like I think it's copper sulfate. And you take copper sulfate and mix it in a solution of warm water, and then anything that you rub, like if you rub steel with this copper sulfate solution, it will turn the finish copper.
Yeah. So
like if you do that first, like the nickel can only stick to copper, it won't stick to steel. And there's other factors that come into play that I never really got to like do. There's like the temperature of the solution, all this stuff. But I didn't know that like you had to copper basically rub the whole thing with copper so that it'll stick to the copper. So a lot of that stuff was like falling apart. I guarantee you there's machines out there that just look like total shit now. Just like just rub them all off and all, like rub the plating right off. There's people that
gives it a cool look though.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's not my intention was to make it nice and clean and cool looking. But it's funny that like, I mean, you think about all the stuff that you tried and failed at, and like failure is your true master. Like if you try to do stuff and it doesn't work out, you could quit, or you could just keep going and trying to figure it out. And that's kind of how I rolled. Like I was like, I'm just gonna keep trying to figure it out.
Right.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of videos, and I don't think there's only been like 2 finished machines this whole year. It's just making stuff like.
So talk about this video you got going on. I see you're making a dial.
Okay, so I'm making like kind of a dial and a J frame sorted together.
Now these are stacked plates, so you can make multiples, right?
Yeah. This is like a jig that I made a while back, and you put like 10 1/8 inch by 3-inch wide plates in there. And what I do is like I can well, I'll just give you the short version of it. Like sure. For instance, like like if you look at this, there's this is basically the design of like a little walker that I'm doing. It's a shorty walker. Yeah. I'll be making these next week. So I take this design that I made in CAD, on this dumb CAD program that I have that I've been using for like, I don't know, 15, 16 years, however long. And you print it out, and then you transfer that pattern from the paper to the piece of metal, so that like you could dial in, you can indicate exactly where that that end mill is going to land. Yeah. And then in doing that, like I have a crappy mill. I have like it's like a Harbor Freight mill drill or something like that. It's like the only thing I have room for. It's like, it's still pretty diesel. Like it weighs about 700 pounds or something. But
is that the little bench top like I have too?
No. It sits on.
I was gonna say mine would never be able to push that.
No, but it's a good mill, and if you can find them, I don't think they make them anymore. But it's a good mill for doing what we're doing. But I mean, I don't think it needs to be said that if I had the room and the power for like a Bridgeport, like you could get the job done so much easier. Like, there's guys that have those that like, I'm very envious of. And I would love to have something like that, but I don't have the room for it. So, and I don't have the power for it. Like, cause I know that you need way more power. You need like a line drop
like
to your shop.
1-2 phase.
Yeah. So basically, what I did was like Facebook Marketplace. That's where I got the mill. Or no, I got the mill off Craigslist. But Facebook Marketplace was great because I found a Bridgeport, like a 15-inch Bridgeport rotary table, like a huge rotary table,
Nice,
so that
yeah.
you can make radius cuts.
But yeah, they're
So
not.
I figured out that like I went to go get this thing. This thing weighed at like 200 pounds or 150 pounds. It was crazy heavy. I threw my back out trying to get it on my mill bed. It was insane. So I have this thing now, and you dial it in, you center it, and then you start to and then when you're making like a radius cut,
Mhm.
you indicate, once you indicate the center of the mill to the center of the end mill to the center of the rotary table, then you can indicate, you know, just drop your mill,
Strike
in
points
the
for your
center of
radiuses. Yeah.
in the center of like the radius where the cut is, and then then you can make these sweeps, you can make these cuts. I feel like it's like it's almost like if like Amish people had like electricity, like that's how I'm rolling. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like so basic, but it's so
Yeah.
fun to figure
No,
out.
it
Like,
makes sense.
you're making these you're making these splines and stuff, and you're making these cuts, but you're really only working within the parameters of what's available to you. And I think it's fun. Like, I think it's fun to try to figure this stuff out. I mean, I can very well,
Right.
like, design some stuff in 2D or 3D, have it sent out, have perfect parts. And that's something that a lot of people do. And I'm not a hater on that. I think it's a good way to make machines if you try to make like very precise things, which we're all trying to do that. But to try to accomplish that same thing the way that I'm doing is like, it's like a lot of people don't do it. And it's for good reason, because it takes a lot of time and a lot of patience. And I'm not sure that I have a lot of time, and I'm definitely not that patient. But when I'm focused on something, I'm focused on it. And
Right.
I think it's fun. It's more fun for me to do it. It's like, I don't know if it's like some kind of it doesn't relax me at all. It makes me
No?
insane. You know what I mean?
But
Like,
there has to be a balance there. When I build machines, I do it very primitive and it's very therapeutic.
yeah, it's not therapy for me.
But there
Once it's
is
accomplished,
that
it's over.
line. There is that line. Like, you mass produce your parts, not like mass quantity, but you'll do
Yeah,
how
yeah. I mean, typically I don't make more than 10 of anything.
but
I
I've
mean, if
seen
I make a
you.
side, I only make 10 of them.
Oh, I did X amount of base plates a day. I did X amount of spring shelves. Personally, I can't work that way. I have to do one machine at a time, front to back, and painted, put out, bang.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time doing what you do. And I could understand, yeah, there's a handful. That's not 10, dude. That is not.
Oh, well, that's 20 then. Well, but the thing is, all right, well, the thing about that was I could fit 2 images on one 3-inch by 1/8 inch piece of metal.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So all you have to do is just, you take that stack out and you flip it, and you make the same cut. I go cut by cut.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, there's a lot of stuff like, I mean, I'm talking about like sides and stuff, like, so like there'll only be like, there'll be like 10 of these little Jonesies, and that's it. Maybe like I made
that'll
like,
be it for the run,
there'll
or
be 8 steel, and like I made like 2 brass, so there'll be like a couple brass, but if you see a machine that I made, there's like, there might be some there's more than 10, but it's not too many shapes,
right.
and plus, like, I don't want to like order 50 of one side. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I make stuff. An idea pops in my head, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm immediately going to my crummy laptop.
You just
trying
make
to
it.
figure it out, trying to figure out a shape, and then I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna spend like my whole day cutting these 10 pieces.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna whack this out in an hour.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting
No.
at a lathe making like, making coil cores,
Yeah.
and making, making binding posts and stuff, and you're sitting there all day, man. It's not like, you're sitting there and the lathe is doing it for you. You know what I mean?
No,
but it's
I
like,
understand. Yeah, it's a process.
I mean, like, I don't know, maybe like running a marathon is therapeutic to some people, but it seems like it's a pain in the ass to me. Like, that's how I feel. Like, I'm like, running this marathon, I don't know why. I don't even know why. That's what, like you said, that's why it's called Tattoo Machine Madness, because it's madness.
So
Like you have to have your fucking head examined to like make them.
yeah.
Like for real. You
So,
know?
I call it obsession. You
Yeah,
call
yeah.
it focus.
I call it focus. That's like
But it's
anybody that has like any kind of mental health issue has this,
yeah.
rational explanation for the way that they're doing it. They're like their method. Oh, it's focus. Like, yeah, okay. You're just fucking crazy. I feel crazy.
Yeah,
It's
that
great
about
though.
sums it up in a nutshell.
Like I find what is it?
Explaining your diagnosis away.
You find peace and solace in the center of the storm, and that's kind of like how I feel like that's how my whole life is.
Right.
I
I can relate. Yeah, I can relate. That's your little bit of focus.
Yeah, it's fun, man. I don't know. Like I don't sell a lot. It's not like I'm doing it for the money. It's just fun.
Right.
Like making tattoo machines is fun, and that's what it's always been. I mean, there's been times where like I've had distribution all over Europe and had distribution in America, and
Sure.
big time people wanted to sell machines for me, but that's over, and I'm still doing it. Like
Sure.
it's not about the money for me. I mean, it's fun to sell them, but it's fucking nerve-wracking too. Like like if it
Yeah, it's a
doesn't
lot of
function
pressure
correctly,
to build in quantity. We've had that conversation through the years where there was a flip-flop in the way I did things, and then it kind of torch passed to you, and you got caught up in that same momentum when we were doing mass distribution, when we were selling through Kingpin.
Oh yeah.
And then through some European countries, like we were getting orders. We were doing, 50, 100 machines a month.
Yeah.
And just the love was ripped out of you. It wasn't that one-on-one. You're just doing productions and you're making them as fast as you can. And you want to talk about that eye of the storm. We were just in the storm, and we didn't even get to the eye yet. It was just chaos.
Yeah,
It was fun, but it was a different time.
I remember this. I remember you making all these steampunk machines, the gears and all that stuff, and they're really, really cool. I think like you leaned more towards like the Bernard Bernard's Garage sort of look. And a lot of guys did,
Sure.
I kind of like, like I was very heavily influenced by you with a lot of stuff. But one thing that I remember you making all these one-offs and stuff, and I remember saying to you, I really like making like production runs of stuff. And you were like, well, why? Because it sounds crazy to have to do the same thing over and over again. And then I kind of was like, well, the challenge is to make something over and over again and have every single one of them be perfect.
Refine.
And that repetitive motion, like repetition is the path to mastery, in my opinion. So like for me to keep making these machines over and over, making the same thing over and over, it just meant that I was, trying to attain perfection, even though like we all understand that like perfection is just an illusion. It's like it's a fool's errand. Like you just keep making stuff. The one-off for me, and like I don't really agree with like losing any love for it back then. I think I was in love with making the same tattoo machine over and over again, just as much as I'm in love with making. I think I love it more now because I understand how easy it is to, not easy, but it's like there's a certain amount of skills that get put aside when you're just like getting them lasered or getting them CNC'd. And it trust me, that shit is all great. I think anybody who's making machines, as long as they're great machines, make them. Who even cares? Do what you got to do. But to me, like I really, you have to love it now. Like there's no other, there's no other option to like make them. Anybody making them handmade knows that like, it's a lot of work, and to me, it's like, I might have better things to do, but I'd rather just be doing this. It's fun. I know, like I might go back to like making stuff laser cut again, or making it using CNC or something, fully CNC milled frames, or production runs of coil cores armature bars, all the like major components, binding posts. I might go back to that. Who knows? But for now, this is what I enjoy doing. And like, I'm not, I'm not real, it's like, I'm not real concerned about like what's going on. I'm only concerned with like, making my machines the best way that I can make them.
Sure. Yeah, and it shows in everything that you do. And it, like I said, I've seen the way you've evolved and changed your styles and your approaches and how you've developed your skills through the years. And it's amazing.
Refined.
Refined. Yeah, that's
refined. That's what my mentor always told me.
Yeah, very polished. And you're always polishing. And I see that in your work. Now, one of the machines that I thought was, it was really, I grew up appreciating like exotic woods and fine woods and craftsmanship with woods. And I think that plays out into the materials as well, different materials like steel, brass, whatever. And I love the incorporation of different techniques. Like Ernie Della Peruto he was amazing with that, like bringing the wood into the metal, almost like knife working. I think he was one of the first guys doing that. It was mind blowing the way he would roll those pins together and whatnot. Right. And then you came out with this one machine, and it was like an interlay.
Oh yeah, the dovetail thing.
Dovetail. Yeah. Which I thought for the time was like that was it, man. I was like, this guy's like, he's got something going on, because I haven't seen anybody do that with steel, let alone a tattoo machine. So I was blown away by the craftsmanship here, and you can see the dovetails. Yeah, where he puzzled everything in.
Well, they say necessity is the mother of invention, and the reason for the dovetails is because I had no idea how to make a jig. Like, there's no tattoo machine guys around me. There's nobody showing me the right or wrong way to do it. So
now, did you make these? Or were these CNC through?
Oh no, they were definitely lasered. Yeah, they were lasered with 2D. I designed.
You laid it all out, and
yeah, and it's like there's something like you don't really, there's no like prototype or anything. It's just like you're just you're ordering 50 of these things and hoping they all work.
Hoping they work. I'm trying to find a year on these. I don't think
you're taking a big gamble,
I don't think you put a year on these ones.
2010 or 11? Yeah. 10 or 11, I think. And there was ones before those too.
You were the first guy doing this.
Oh yeah.
You were definitely the first guy doing this.
Hold on now. I was the first one to do that, but I definitely borrowed that like interlocking thing. I think Soba, BJ Soba Johnson, that cat had he had this machine called the Arrow or something like that. And if you look at like that one, that's kind of like, it's like it's a combination between a Walker and a Jonesy. Like it's got those Jonesy binding posts, or any of them. Like you could see how they interlock in the binding posts or on the side. Like you could see that one little tab that goes in between those binding posts. And I thought it was crazy how perfectly that little tab fit between the two binding posts. And then I feel like that machine was like a bolt up frame, so I got to give props to that guy, because that was like that little spark that, ignited this thing that made me like, want to do that way, that design and stuff. And I ran with that for like a minute, and then, and I thought it was cool, and I sold a bunch of them, and they were great. They're good, solid machines. But like, again, like I didn't know shit about having a jig and like, making sure that like my fixture was correct before I welded it and all this stuff.
Yeah, I was trying to find one.
Parts interlocked together, and the frame was its own jig. That was the idea, right. But there were many like, I had to weld that frame from the inside. It was right. I had been TIG welding for like a little while, and it was a lot easier than MIG welding to me. I was never really good at brazing. So, I had to build, it's like you make this thing that's its own fixture, but then you have to build a fixture to build this thing. So, yeah. So it was like that was like the first jig or fixture that I had to make was for those dovetail frames. And it was because, the look of the dovetails on the outside, it's like, you know, they interlock together. It's on the outside of the frame.
Yeah, you don't want to.
So I'm like, well, you can't weld the outside because it'll look stupid.
Yeah.
You know, like to have this, you know, to have this like wonderful, you know, interlocking thing and like have it look cool and then weld over it is dumb. So I had to weld it from the inside. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I had to, like, I make these things and like, you know, hindsight's 2020, but like, you know, you're not thinking about like, oh, I'll just weld these things up. No big deal. And, you know, I had to make this like fixture to weld them from the inside. And that was a complete and total pain in the fucking ass. You know what I mean? But like, that's how you learn, you know? And the thing that broke the spell on, you know, that broke the spell on the Dovetail thing was I must have gone out to a meeting of the Marked, and I met Tim Azinger. He was super, super nice. He's a great friend to this day. Love that dude. Meeting of the Marked was certainly one of the absolute best tattoo shows in the country at that point.
Yeah, that's for people that don't know, that's the iconic
oh yeah, like conventions, like convention. You know, 20 something, 20, you know, 25, 26, 27 years old. See, every big name dude knows about, every person worth their salt knows about
1992 was the first one.
It was so good. And you know, I met Tim and I hung out with you. We went to breakfast, and then we went to your shop and we went in the basement, and there's parts and shit scattered everywhere. And I was like, this is like, you know, this is exactly how I want to be living. Parts and shit scattered everywhere. And if you look in my shop now, that's exactly how it is. It's controlled chaos, I guess. Yeah, which is another, like, you know, another device you could use to say that like you're a hoarder. Like, to avoid saying it. Like, oh, it's controlled chaos. No, dude, you're a fucking hoarder. Get rid of some shit and clean up a little bit. You got metal chips that are like ankle deep in this motherfucker.
Explaining away mental disorders once again. Thank
exactly.
You.
Anyhow, we went in there.
That's
and
not
I remember you showing me a very simple way to make a jig. And you said, never show anybody this. Never. And I think I showed maybe one person. And in that time, I've seen people make that same jig and post it on the internet countless times. You know, just giving it away. But I mean, it was that one jig, the 2 coil cores and the 2 A bars.
That's simple.
So simple. And like, it's the method that I use to this day. And once I learned that, there was no need for the dovetail. Right. That's why I was like, all right, that's over. You know, like, dovetail shit is over. I'm doing this now. And I think I just went shopping in your basement, and I took a bunch of, like, you had all these beefy J frames and you know, all these Rogers, like so much fucking sick, like laser cut Rogers. You know, sides and
bars, cores,
plates, and all this shit. And I was just like, I remember looking at you, and I'm like, I'm just taking these. And you looked at me like, dude, like, you can't take all. I'm like, I'm taking them. Like, these are mine now. And I was like, these are mine. I'm taking these. And then I think I made like this huge J frame. I wish I still had it here. I have it somewhere. Huge, beefy, crazy J frame with this long geometry.
Yeah, crazy
long A bar, slappy as fuck. And I made one of those things, and it was like my daily shader. It had pink foil coils. I remember that. It was like, they're like real hot pink, and it was like a oil blackened frame. And I wish I had a picture of it. Maybe if I find it, I'll post it on my Instagram or something. But that thing slapped so hard, like, holy shit, man. And then and that was it. That was it for me. And like, I was like, that's it for the dovetail thing. And I started cutting stuff for a while. I was cutting frames and like cutting sides anyway, and trying to make some handmade stuff. It was tough though. I only had a drill press, you know, and like, you know, like a crappy bandsaw, that I still use to this day. But you know, and like, I didn't know much, but I knew that there was like, that was a turning point for me to go from, you know, to me in my head, like, it legitimized something. I was like, oh, okay, now I can make this jig. This is the first jig, and then I'm making this, and now I can make these things because of this jig. And to me, it sort of legitimized it in my mind. You know, like, it made it more legitimate to be able to make these machines in a more precise manner.
Changes your perspective. It shifts your perspective, and it opens up doors for your creativity. So it takes you in another direction.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You close the door on the dovetail. You did that, and then you stepped into a new direction.
Oh, dude, I wear shit out. There was a
Evolution.
time, I mean, like I made only shorties for 2 years straight.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was just recently. Like a couple years ago, it was like shorty.
And then
And I just made like, I think like 10, like 10, like a collection of 10 parts.
Yeah.
And this is what the new,
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like the new
I saw that on your
coil
page.
deck is gonna look. And I'm real excited to put these out, but then it's like I only got 10. It's like that sucks. I wish I had more.
But you have the formula, so if you want to do 10 more.
Yeah, if I want to do 10 more, then I have a jig for drilling out.
Okay. So question, why not 12?
Where does it end?
Well, some people say a dozen, some people say 13.
Well, let's put it this way: like the end mills that I use, I can only get 10.
Okay, so that's the
each.
reason, because I hear you say 10
because
a lot.
If I had an end mill that was rigid enough, that was like a foot long, I'd make a foot, like a whole foot of like, I'd just keep you
plunge
every
it.
cut is like a 1/16 of an inch deep.
Right.
The depth is only you can't cut too much far, because you're plunging and
you're plunging. Yeah.
So it's like you can only cut like a 1/16 of an inch. And besides that, it's like, like, do I really want like 100 of these Jonesies? I'm not going to make all these. I'm probably going to make 2 out of the 10. But it's good.
You'll make all 10. You have to make.
No. I'm sorry. Yeah, but I have I'm making 3 different shorty sides.
Right.
So that's 3 of each, and then a bonus one.
30. Yeah.
So it's like, so I have, at the end of this little batch, I'll have 30 shorty sides.
Yeah.
6 of which will be brass, and then I'll have to break out the oxyacetylene to make a couple of brass and steel or something like that. But but getting back to that, like, well, why not 12? Well, that's kind of like where I'm at, is like, well, if you're set up and you can make 10, well, like everything's set up, you can make 20.
Yeah.
But 20 is a pretty low number. Let's kick it to 30, just in case some of them don't work out.
Yeah.
But while we're there, why don't we just make 50? So I, made 50 coil decks, like in December, something like that. I'm like, oh, well, I have, and then I had a bunch of parts from last year that were, if you look down the center profile of a tattoo machine, if you're looking down the center of it, like this way, like these guys, this is an old bulldog. I mean, older bulldog, and these are like an inch wide, all told, side plate to the inside of the frame. They're an inch. And then I started thinking, well, I have all these parts, I can make these machines, but I really wanted to like slim up the profile.
Yeah.
So I shaved like 1/8 of an inch off, and then had to like basically start over. So all the parts that I could have used from last year are now old, and they're just sitting there, and I'm making new stuff. And that's kind of how I always roll. I'm like, oh man, I found like a little improvement, I just throw out everything that I was just doing,
Wow.
And so I started from scratch again. It's fun. Like, I don't know, it's fun to me. Like you think of something, you figure it out, and then a week later it's made and it's in your hand. Like, how can it be better than that? Like, waiting on lead times is a fucking drag. You know what I mean? Like,
working with machine shops, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a full on
casting.
drag,
Have you done any casting?
Pardon me?
Have you done any casting?
Oh no, that's the next. I would love to do that. I know that you've always you've told me about making boards and stuff like that, and that's something I'm very much interested in. A buddy of mine that I, Facebook buddy, Joe McVeigh, I guess he's more known as Crazy Joe. I think he's in like just outside of Chicago or something like that. This guy does he's like one of the only people I know that's doing investment casting all by himself, and they're incredible. He makes Jonesies, and he makes bulldogs, and he's making the wax. He's dipping it in the ceramic solution. Like he's going for it. Stuff like that is like, and he's been doing that for years, and nobody I know is like even interested in doing that themselves. It's such an insane process. It takes so many resources to be able to accomplish making like a brass, tattoo machine, and then, taking that and then machining it,
Yeah.
so there's like, you're making like,
Process.
in Sandcast, you're like, you gotta like, you gotta mill off draft angles and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's such a crazy process that like, kind of stuck, not stuck, but like, this is like the thing that I'm trying to master is this prefab sort of way to do things. And then once that's done, that's like, it's just like, a right turn, like, and I'll, maybe make some cast stuff just as another thing to do.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. I would love, like I said, like we discussed me coming out to Pittsburgh, and like, you have like a little setup, and then maybe we can try doing it,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's never going to work, the first time you try,
No, but it's
so
fun to try.
yeah. And then you might get it down a little bit, and, and there's, but that's what's so sick about tattoo machines is like, there's so many ways to make them. And like, there's so many people making them, and they're making really, really fucking cool stuff. Like, there's a lot of guys making like really awesome stuff, no matter how they're making it. And, I don't, like I said, I'm not a hater. I take notes, and I'm looking at all this awesome stuff, and I'm like, yo, man, I want to make some awesome stuff too. Like, yo, like, what's up? Let's get some, like, let's get this shit. Let's make some machines. I'm super excited. I'm like just as excited about making tattoo machines today that I was, taking that machine apart and fucking up a tattoo with it because I put it back together wrong. Like, I'm just as excited about it.
So I'm trying to think here. Where are you at now with your process of machine building, and like, let's say, balancing the tattoo shop and balancing your life? Like, do you have pretty good balance at this point in your life?
Yeah, I mean, as balanced as anybody else at this point, but I just look at it like it's not many things, it's all one thing.
Right.
Tattooing is the same as tattoo machines, is the same as painting, is the same as, having a daughter, being a husband, being a business owner, trying to be a good leader, like things like that. Like, those things are all important. And like, I mean, of course there's like, things that I would definitely put in front of tattoo machines, but there's just, like, my whole life is just one thing. I don't really think of it as a separate thing. It's all the same to me. Like, tattooing is like, tattooing is like the actual act of tattooing. There's, painting flash, and there's tattoo machines. Those are the three things that I love. And then there's secondary things like, the customers, the people come in and they want tattoos. Like, you treat them with respect. You do a good tattoo on them, no matter what it is. They hold their phone up at you and they want to get tattooed, and that's what they want. And to me, it's like I provide a service, and that service involves being nice and, being courteous. And those things are important too. Sure. And just like other things, like being, trying to be a good shop owner, try not to be a fucking asshole to the people that work here. Trying to set an example for them so they can do good tattoos, or like, handle things. So that's like all they have to worry about is tattooing, like going to work and doing their best, all those things are like, they're just like one thing, it's like, it's just one tiny little part of the microcosm.
Yeah, it's you.
Which is my life.
Yeah.
Those things are all important. And like I said, there's some things that you like, obviously being, being a family guy and being a husband, and all those things are more important, but one thing can't happen without the other.
Right.
It's important to me to always put your best foot forward and always be upright and honest with people. Those are the things that are important, I think.
Well, I agree 100%. And you said the shop's doing really strong now. You're super busy. All the stems are coming in. People are going nuts to get booked up.
Well, it was nuts. It was nuts since, like, I don't know, before a year ago. Before all this stuff, it was like going crazy. And then we got shut down and all that. And then when we came back, it was bananas.
Yeah.
It was bananas. I mean, like, like, I don't know anybody that was like, not tattooing at that point. I mean, it's November. We were going crazy. That's like I said, I had to take a month off. I was like, I can't even do it. It's like, I need to chill with my kid and my wife, and I need to make tattoo machines.
Right.
And, I need to like decompress a little bit. And then, I came back in January and, it was going nuts again. It was crazy. I don't really know anybody that's tattooing right now that's not losing their mind,
When COVID first hit last year, last February, late or early March, were you go, and then it was just stop? We had to shut down.
We got shut down. I made pigment for a month.
Really? Okay.
I mixed 32 colors. I
so
lost
you
my
kept going.
Dude, I don't stop, man. Like
right.
I love tattooing, and that's another thing is like making pigment is like, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, you do it all. You do every angle of tattoo.
I do most. I mean, I don't know. Like I like to be self-contained.
Sure. Self-sufficient.
If to me, the more things that you have, like right in front of you that come from you, the better. Like, if I could make my own needle, if I had time to make my own needles, I certainly would. But trying to find good pins and good bars is another thing. Luckily, I have a really good source for needles. The stuff that I use is really, really good. So like I'll use that. But if that ran out, like I have pins from 20 years ago that like you got to make and solder your own stuff. Yeah. But making pigment, like I just there's not a lot I'm going to say about that, but like I'll tell you this, like I made a shit ton of it. I stocked up. I had the time. Yeah. I'm blowing out fucking rainbow boogers for like a week.
Yeah.
And I stocked up, because I had the time to do it. And I think after a month of that, like I was painting a bunch. I made like 6 sheets, and that was cool. And I was making a bunch of I had just come off of making like a ton of machine stuff because I was getting ready for the Skindustry convention in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which my buddy Steve Lemack, he runs that one, and it's a great show. And I was getting ready for that. So when I do that convention, I usually sell a bunch of machines. So I was getting ready for that, and then that got canceled. So I'm like, I was like sitting on machines, like, all right, well, I have machines. What am I supposed to do? So I just started making pigment like a crazy person. And then we came back to work, and it was chaos again. It was like jumping right back in.
Right.
Only it was like, in our area, I think like, it was like, people are trying to escape, the cities, and we're in between, we're, an hour away from Philadelphia, and, maybe 3 hours from New York City. And Atlantic City is typically a destination, for vacationers in the summertime. So people are trying to cut out of the city. So they came down, and there's no bars open. The casinos are closed. There's no restaurants open. There's nothing to do except get tattooed. And I was just like,
nothing wrong with that.
It's like, they say like make hay when the sun's out, and I mean, there was a lot of dudes, a lot of tattooers that stayed on unemployment.
Yeah.
They didn't even come back to work. Like, it was nuts. So there was like a demand, but not like it couldn't be fulfilled because a lot of guys stayed out and a lot of shops were closed. They stayed closed until like August, and we were like, just crushing tattoos, business as usual, and for that, I feel like I'm very fortunate because, that's, if you've ever gone through like the slow seasons or the slow years of tattooing, like, it's a rough thing to have to go through if you're not like some big name dude or you're just some regular street shop guy. That's what I am, you're sitting around, twiddling your thumbs and, hoping, you can, make some money so you can pay your mortgage and some, you pay your rent or something like that. And if, you have a situation where there's like people, like the floodgates open up and you're tattooing like every goddamn day, you better like, buckle up and do it,
Get it.
So fortunately enough for us, that's what we did,
Yeah. Well, we come from the 90s era of tattooing where there weren't many shops and we were more street shops. We weren't focused. We weren't, like, for myself, we didn't specialize in just one thing. We did anything. Somebody walked through the door and want a name, we'll do a name. Somebody walked through the door and they want a mole put on their face, we do a mole. Somebody wants a portrait. Like, you had to adapt to each style.
Right. Yeah, of
And
course.
it seems to me nowadays people just focus on one style. A lot of people focus just on one style, which there's nothing wrong with that. But we understand what it's like to hustle.
Yeah.
From that generation, street shop.
Sometimes you had to sell tattoos. A lot of times, like, I mean, that's what it is. You're selling tattoos. If you're a street shop guy, that's how it is. Like, you're trying to, give the best tattoo that the person could have. Sometimes they come in with an idea that's not exactly the greatest idea, the greatest placement, and it's our job to like steer them in the right direction. But I caught the tail end of the 90s, and I started apprenticing in 99. I started tattooing at the end of 99. But I was definitely in the shop for that same time. And like, you walk in the shop and there's JD Crow flash, there's Adam Kaplan flash, David Bolt flash. Oh God, I mean, when Tattoo Johnny came out, there was all that Tattoo Johnny stuff. I mean, Cherry Creek,
Little Vinny,
whatever,
yeah,
all that stuff. Little Vinny, yeah, like all that stuff. There was like all kinds of really, really crazy. Frank Lee. Like fucking Frank Lee flash, like if you got
everywhere.
Frank Lee flash, oh my God.
We had all the 90s, the hot dots and early 2000s stuff.
Dude, I guarantee you, I did every butterfly on that Adam Kaplan sheet, like every butterfly. Had to have kanjis all day. I didn't even use a fucking liner. I'd use a 5 mag. Just like I wouldn't even line them, man. 2 minutes and they're done. It's like bing, you're like, bing, done. And I was like, when I was working for, I had left the shop that, I got fired basically from my apprenticeship and tattooed out of my house for a little while. And then I was tattooing for a guy named Keith Titus out in Hamilton, New Jersey. And it was out in the middle of like blueberry fields. So he had this little shop and he was crushing tattoos. He was booked up 6 months. And he had this little shop called Exotic Body Works, and I was the first employee there. Fresh out of my house, I went and like auditioned for him and did this terrible fucking tattoo. And he kind of shaped me and molded me into what I am today, because he needed a walk-in guy. And being like some little ghetto like skateboard kid, I had never seen walk-in money. Like, I never made tattoo money before. Right. So to me, I was like, the more walk-ins I do, the more money I make. So I'm like losing it, like doing like flash all day long. And he's over here doing like sleeves of Biomech stuff, back pieces of Biomech stuff, huge tattoos. He was like, at that point, he had won like all these awards and stuff. And I think he won awards when like awards really meant something, like he's winning awards at conventions that were like, legit. Like, you're actually being judged by your peers. And he's a great dude. I mean, he's still in business to this day over in Hamilton. And that guy, because he had such a crazy waiting list, he was booked up for 6 months, that like I was the only dude doing walk-ins for like a 15-mile radius, for like years. And I mean, I got kind of booked up too, but I always saved time for walk-ins and stuff. And that was like, it was always important for me to be able to do, I mean, like a little tiny tattoo turns into a sleeve, and like, you do like a small tattoo on something and next thing you know, you're doing like their whole back, or something like that. And he was like really influential for me because the Biomech thing was so fucking crazy and nobody did it, like nobody in our area really did it. So I learned how to, you kind of visually or mentally map out, how to make an arm of Biomech. And this is years and years ago, but like I really don't do that stuff anymore, but I consider
one of your Biomech pieces on my wall.
Oh yeah, you have a painting. Yeah. I did it for a long time and it was really cool. I was real into like, Aaron Kane and Guy, of course.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
I'm trying to get the light off.
It's like 2007, 2008, something like that. It's like a whole arm study, Yeah, that stuff is rad, man. I like, to this day, I love Biomech stuff, and I owe a lot to like that style, because it taught me how to focus and really try to like finish things. But at the end of the day, you're starting all these giant Biomech pieces on people that, run out of money and can't come back. So I think, like, for me to advance as a tattooer, I started doing more Coleman style tattoos. And I kind of, took it back to basics and started doing more Sailor Jerry, more Coleman style stuff. And really focused on my efforts on completing like one like small piece at a time. And because like you have a portfolio full of half done tattoos, it doesn't look too good, so like having a portfolio full of finished tattoos, even though they're smaller, I think was like it worked to my benefit, because you saw like what you could do. But getting back to Keith, like, and walk-ins and stuff like that, yeah, it was just insane, because like nobody else was doing them. And I think it really set the tone for my tattooing today. And I do a lot of big work now, but and I'm, I book up like the middle of the week for bigger stuff, but I always have time Friday and Saturday for walk-ins. I don't schedule anything. And it's important to be able to do both, I think, and it's okay that like people want to specialize in one thing. It's cool, because like really focusing and honing your skills on one thing is great. But like you said, we came up at a time where that just was unheard of. There wasn't the amount of tattoo shops. I did so much black and gray, what I don't think I would consider it realism, but like I would do a lot of illustrative black and gray back in the day. And now I don't have to, because there's dudes that do that shit, like smoking that stuff, like, and I'm like, just go see Carlos Lopez at Fat Cats in Atlantic City. He's fucking awesome at it. And like, it's, to me, it hurts my brain to look at that stuff, because it's so good. I'd much rather, like, people come into me and I'm like, oh, get an eagle, get a panther head, get a dagger. Those are my favorite things.
So you're more of a
sorry, Tony.
Yeah, what's up?
Our time is shortening, but I did want to catch up. One person was asking about tattoo conventions, and maybe, I don't know if you each want to relay your first tattoo convention story, or maybe your first interesting tattoo convention story. And then this is going awesome, but we're gonna have to leave them wanting more, because like I said, but this is awesome. This is great.
So the interesting tattoo convention story as far as machines or chaos?
Your pick.
You want to go first, Greg, or you? Because I got a lot.
I don't really know, man. I don't know. There's certainly been a lot of really good shows over the years. I think the first show that I ever did was Drawing the Wild Card. It's now called the Atlantic City Tattoo Expo. And that show was put on by my good friend John Henderson and Mark Fairchild. And I think the first time they had it was maybe 2004 at the Atlantic City Tattoo Convention Center. And Keith, my old boss, he got a booth, but we were supposed to get a double booth. But I guess they got their wires crossed, and we ended up having this booth off to the side. It was near like the main stage or something. And I remember tattooing and listening to, Motley Crue's Kickstart My Heart fucking a million times that day. And to this day, I can't stand that song. Yeah. The only thing that I remember was like, this monitor speaker fucking blasting Kickstart My Heart every 20 minutes. I didn't hear any other. It was insane. And I think that was a cool show. There was certainly a lot of good, really good guys that I met at that show. And I was at a point where I was like very immature in like my tattooing and in life, and probably made a drunken spectacle of myself, possibly, maybe, who knows.
Sounds about
I mean,
right.
like, it was very easy to do that in that sort of environment. Like you're hanging out, being a complete fucking dodo bird outside your element, and it's like, very easy to like lose your mind in places like that. That was my first convention story. Big up to Keith, big up to John Henderson and Mark Fairchild. I think Terry Manning had something to do with that one also in the very beginning. But they run a great show to this day. They're making that show happen again at the Hard Rock Casino in Atlantic City in November sometime. If you're in Atlantic City around that time, it's like the beginning of November. It's a very, very good show. I'm very excited to see it at the Hard Rock this year. It's a new venue for them, and they certainly put a lot of work into making a very, very cool show for people. So check that out. Yeah, you go. I know you got you got a better story than just Kickstarter.
It depends what kind of story they're all looking for. I got tons of stories. Hey, I traveled with Skyver for a decade, so I have some.
Dude,
you know, Skyver.
Let me tell you something. Stories. Don't ever hit that. Don't ever hit that deer antler that he has.
No, I don't do any of that.
Or do.
I don't do any of that anyhow.
So many crazy space stories came out of that deer antler.
One of my favorite stories is about 1994. There was a show. It was Lexington, Kentucky. It was Bo Dean. He did, I forget the name of the show, but I went there with Jungle Jimmy, who's from Jersey.
Oh, yeah. I know Jim, yeah. We worked in Wildwood together.
I met a dude named Shaky James. He was from Albuquerque, New Mexico there. And we did this show, and we were Eastern boys, and they didn't really take to the biomech and stuff we were doing. Everything was pretty traditional down there.
Yeah.
And it was back in our heyday. I figure I was about 24 years old. I'm 51 now. And I used to drink and party, and I did all that stuff. I don't do any of that anymore, by the way. But we got all hammered up. And we decided after the floor closed, and these were back when conventions were wild, like the boombox battles and the loud music, and everybody's fucking naked, and it's just insanity. It was just a party. We would just wreck hotel rooms and just be idiots. We were kids. We thought we were rock stars back then. But we ended up stealing the piano from the bar. There was about 8 of us. We put it on the elevator, took it up to the 3rd floor, rolled it down the hallway. Put it in our hotel room, and then invited everybody off the floor into our room and partied all night. So there's a knock at the door about 3 a.m, and we're like, oh, fuck. They know we stole the piano. So everybody lines up in front of this piano, and we open the door, and there's security's like, hey, somebody said there's piano music coming out of this room. Do you guys have a piano in here? And everybody's standing lined up in front of it so you can't see it. And we're like, no, there's no piano in here, dude. We don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, oh, okay, later. Shuts the door. And we're like, oh, shit, what are we going to do? Awesome. And Necro Mike and his wife had a room down the hallway about 8 doors down. We're blitzed. We rolled a piano out and just slammed it in front of their door and took off. And you could see, as we're jumping into the room, we look back and their door is opening and someone's peeking out like, what the fuck is this piano doing in front of my room? So that's one of the funnier stories.
That is awesome. A way better story than Kickstart Your Heart blaring every 20 minutes.
So now that precedent has been set, Tony, you want to tell us about your tattoo convention, and then we'll close out the show?
Yeah, we just confirmed the dates. Me and Elizabeth actually, I don't have the dates here, but it's the last weekend in July of 2022. It's the Rubber City. It's going to be the first. It was the Rubber City Tattoo Convention in downtown Akron at the John S. Knight Convention Center, and that should be a good time. It's going to be the first one. It would have been the third one. We had it scheduled for 2020, but then COVID hit, so it kind of threw a loop in things. And it should be interesting. We're gonna vamp all the socials and the websites in the next couple months here and get things rolling again. I know, Gabe, you're coming out. You're going to be doing seminars. Hopefully we can get Greg out there too.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm wicked excited. I've got everything already planned. We already had all the descriptions. It's like one of the few times I got all the descriptions and shit ahead of time because you were, or maybe it was your partner that was leaning on me. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and, she's good at what she does, man. She's a PR girl. She's awesome.
And people will know that if they try to steal the pianos, they'll be secured for a reason.
Why don't you just have free pianos there so people would just take them up to the room? Actually, the hotel that it's in is beautiful. It was all just redone. But we'll get that and we'll check all that info out as soon as we can. If anybody's looking to contact me, I am at T Urbanic Machines on Instagram or Tony Urbanic on Instagram. Greg is Veritas MFG. Is it at Greg Veritas MFG? Where can people contact you, Greg? If they want machines or tattoos.
You can hit me up on Instagram. My Instagram is just Veritas MFG. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Is that you want some machines? I make a machine. No big whoop.
You got any last words for inspiring machine builders?
Yeah, you know,
with wisdom.
I don't know, man. Like, work with what you have first. You know, if you have an old Spalding frame or an old National frame, an old Papillon frame, you know, like anything really, even an old Chinese frame, like, you know, make some stuff, put it together, you know, make a line with it. Watch how bad it is. You know, look at how terrible your shit's coming out, and then make improvements and make it look cool. That's what I did. You know, like, put that shit together, tattoo some stuff. It's like very simple. You know, that's the only way you're going to get good at it. I mean, I'm not the best at it, but I work on it. You know, like, you know, you keep going. You know, refine. That's what my mentor told me. You know who that is?
Focus.
You know, focus. Not obsession. Focus.
Well, this is pretty awesome. Definitely appreciate everybody's time. So let's see. So Patrick Coste says, "Thank you guys." I think he's up in Canada. We've got SJ says, "This was so awesome to listen in on." She kind of wants to steal a piano now. Haha, just kidding. Thanks for sharing. You definitely have to be, because as we know, all the FBI has to do is type in stolen piano. They're going to listen to all of the conversations that have happened anywhere in the universe about stolen pianos, and all of a sudden facial recognition software. So no more piano stealing from here on out. We have to come up with other alternative activities. So thanks again. If people are watching on the YouTubes, go check out the podcast. If you're listening on the podcast, go check out the YouTubes, check out these fellas. And then, now's the time to like wave into the camera